Time is running out for Roch Longueepee. The child abuse survivor says it's only a matter of time before his brain injury turns into full-blown dementia or Alzheimer's. For years, he didn't even know he had a brain injury, and that was until it was diagnosed in 2011. Now, in his 40s, Longueepee wants to go back to school and become a lawyer. There's only one problem. The University of Waterloo and Wilfrid Laurier University won't take him as a student because the schools say his grades are too low. But Longueepee says it's not as simple as that, so he's taking both schools to the Human Rights Tribunal, Ontario and Human Rights Tribunal, over allegations of discrimination. He joins me now. Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's just jump right off here. Why did you file a human rights complaint against Waterloo and Wilfrid Laurier?
Well, because I feel that my rights have been violated based on accommodation. All universities, and these universities in particular, believe that they're an autonomous institution. They cite their academic rights and freedoms, and that's all fine and dandy. But when it comes to rights and accommodations, you have to be reasonable. And we're simply arguing in this case, be reasonable, and they're not being reasonable in this case.
So what would being reasonable look like to you if they were to be reasonable in your case?
Well, in my case, they rejected my application based on an academic performance that happened during a time I had a undiagnosed brain injury and chronic post-traumatic stress disorder. So we think that's pretty unreasonable. Most universities, actually where I come from, would accept me as a mature student. These two won't even consider that. And to be, applying an academic record that's over a decade old and doesn't even and was at a time when I had an undiagnosed brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder, therefore no accommodations, seems to me pretty unreasonable.
Tell me how having this traumatic brain injury, how does it affect your everyday life?
Brain injury is complicated. It depends really on, for mine is a historical trauma. It's a late diagnosis. So now the intervention is happening very, very, very late, and I'm dealing with all the aftermath of all that. So a lot of it is developmental in some respects. So just imagine, putting a plant in a room and the window's on the other side. It's going to grow towards the light. So it grows crooked. And so essentially that's what's happened with me in my life. There's been all kinds of issues around behavioral issues. There's been issues around cognitive functions, and where I'm having now they're looking at issues around oral cognitive functions, that there's, sometimes when I speak, my tongue swells up. I can't speak properly. I have swallowing disorder, those kinds of things, severe migraines to the point that I become so violently sick, I'm vomiting, and then I'm out for 48 hours. It's a lot of pain and a lot of frustration.
And, thousands of people, as I'm sure you know, are denied access to higher education every year all over this country. Explain specifically how this is discrimination in your case.
Well, I'm not 19, first of all. Second of all, I have a wealth of experience. I came into the university, supplied them with a wealth of medical documentation backing up all the information I had advised them about my condition. So they knew I had a registered disability, recognized by the federal government. And in my case as well, if you have to forgive me, I'm tired. I've had a couple of nights of insomnia, so I'm still struggling with this part of the brain injury scenario as well. Anyway, I'm lost my own train of thought here. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just what makes these two universities discrimination specifically in your case?
Well, I mean, this is a failure to accommodate. So, in other words, we're saying you can't expect a two-legged man or one-legged man to compete in a two-legged man race, and essentially that's what they're asking me to be. I mean, this is a 10-year-old record, and then at a time when I had a brain injury that was undiagnosed, you can't expect that my results were going to be excellent. They're not. I finished the year. I didn't do well, but I didn't meet their standards per se. But it's not every university in this country that would turn people like me away. A lot of them would actually accept me. In the United States, most places I could get into university. Here, it's a different standard altogether. But I think the point is, how far do those standards go, and how reasonable are those standards? And we're saying they're not reasonable.
And Laurier, they're not commenting on this specific case, but they say that admission, sort of to your point almost, isn't just about grades. In a statement, the school told us it does enroll students in special cases if there, and I quote, if there is a reasonable chance for success in an academic environment. How do you respond to that?
Well, Laurier was saying that they've been quoted in the record this morning saying that they give accommodations to students that are already enrolled. The point is, I didn't even get to that point. That's the whole point. And when I approached them, they didn't even the disability department didn't even review this file. We asked for who reviewed the file, what their backgrounds were, how did they reach their conclusions. None of that was provided. They cited their rights to freedom of information, which is actually blarney. We've did some research and found that they had tried that in a number of the cases and they failed in that test. So it's just one delay tactic after another.
The University of Waterloo gave us a prepared statement as well. The school said that it never actually received a formal application.
That's a lie.
They actually, okay. They said it reviewed your documents as a courtesy, but you're saying,
They specifically, I'm going to make a correction on that. They specifically asked me not to do an official application because I think they were trying to legally escape their responsibility here. But this is the point. That argument is about as logical as Bill Clinton saying, yes, I smoked marijuana, but I didn't inhale. Either you did the act or you didn't. The point is they broke the law, and now they must answer, and they will answer.
So,
they were provided all the medical documentation.
But you gave them all your information.
Why would they put me through that exercise?
But there was no actually official application. But they actually told you don't bother applying with these records?
That's what they told me. Yep, they deliberately told me that. And when I spoke to the head register and I told him my complaint, he said, "Well, that's the end of it. There's no more discussion. There's no appeal. That's the end of it." That was his attitude, and this is the attitude of both these universities. Before I came here, I was told by many friends that the attitude of many of the universities in this province is very elitist. I don't think that it's across the country we have this problem. I think Ontario is primarily a focus, and there's been enough reports here by agencies in this province, including the Human Rights Commission, saying that when it comes to academic study for disabled people, there's a huge disparity for them in this province alone.
Why is this so important to you? Why do you want to get into university so badly?
I've been doing volunteer nonprofit work all of my life, and it's really been motivated from having come from a very, very difficult life. I'm identifying myself first and foremost as an institutional child abuse survivor. And the result of these disabilities is the failure of the child protection services in two provinces to protect me. Which led to the disabilities, and later they failed to diagnose me. The only reason why I've got a diagnosis is because of the professional connections I developed over the last decade through my volunteer nonprofit organization, Restoring Dignity, here in this country, and I'm known now outside of the country as one of the world's foremost experts in this field, and I'm being called to the Royal Commission of Inquiry in Australia, which I'm still preparing for. I've got a lot of work to do on that. So, and there were references sent to these universities, some 30 of them from around the world. Some of the individuals, their academic backgrounds would make many of the people at the universities here their background look like a walk in the park. So a lot of people are scratching their heads and wondering why the universities here declined my application. It doesn't make any sense.
Roch, I hope you stay in touch with us and let us know how this goes forward. I want to thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
That was Roch Longueepee, the aspiring lawyer and advocate for the disabled, was talking to us about his...